correctly. Well, all that good stuff. Here. Why do I have no frames due to encoding lag? I don't like encoding lag. Okay. Ooh, I'm stopping this. Oop. Come over here. No. Again, I hope it works more appropriately now. That isn't good to start and stop things, I know. But hey, okay, yeah, seems like it will work here. That is good. Well, hello everyone. Sorry for the rough start there. I think that's because I'm clicking and tabbing and whatnot. I hope people are doing well. Okay. Ah, Toy Jet. You keep saying that as if you might not be a humanoid. How are we doing for aircraft? Okay, fighters, fairly decent. Let's see, let's put up a fighter contingent here. Okay, yeah, mostly outdated stuff. Which is sort of what I feared, but I really don't want to put those on the Western Front, but hey. Hopefully that means many of these guys, well, they're not up to date yet. Well, I don't know up to date because we're just now producing some 109s. I don't know what you might be referring to, fellow humanoid being. Okay. Well, how do you know it's just humanoids? Do you not want to greet other non-humanoids that might be watching? Okay, so we're still in 37, so we got a lot of time. No, you don't. Okay. All right. Well, let's make an episode here. Welcome, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with World Ablaze mod. Now, is this better than Black Ice? I don't know. We sort of had the stumbling block of my inability to defeat France. And I will say it's not because of my bad strategy, I think, and I was warned about this at developing at the time. Weakness in the divisions. So let's see about increasing yeah, okay, we have, well, let's there we go. A little bit larger, a little bit heavier divisions. Or at least the infantry. Armor. Right now, we don't have enough light panzers to increase that. We already have maintenance squads. Hey, Ari. Good to have you here, my friend. Okay, so let's go back down to Spain. We can watch the action as we try to push into here. What section are these guys up? Okay, Eastern. I guess that's all right. Okay, so now we have, I think those are maritime planes, yeah. which will allow us to do that. And yes, I want the long-range condor. So we will start researching that. At least I hope it's a long-range condor. As opposed to, I guess, a short-range condor. Could you have a short-range condor? Okay. Okay, one thing I noticed before starting this, we had an economic fatigue of 49%. Now they talked about, the developers, I forget which one, of the mod, that getting Austria and Czechoslovakia helped reduce that down. See if it does. I think this is a bit much for fatigue for Germany. I really do. They talked about, yes, they want to replace with 39%. Let's see if that. Well, that didn't seem to work. Hey, Maxim Westberg, how you doing? And USA Man is here. Very good. So that did not seem to work. It did not reduce down to 39% economic fatigue. And I thought they were here in a previous stream. And I do think if they're not here today, they do. We need a much larger army and move some divisions around to get this. But we're still, well, half a year early or something. Maybe not quite that much. Do watch the videos. So okay, 70 days, another research slot. That's nice. I don't like that. I mean, once the war starts, that doesn't matter. But, and they said on this again, they claim it is a choice by Germany that they're imposing to do autarky. Okay. I'm not going to claim to know everything. I still need to fully read Toz's book, The Wages of Destruction, though I think it's more dealing with, once the war starts. So I am not the absolute expert on this. But from what I've read, Germany was importing what it could, what it needed as time is going on, leading up to the war, while trying to establish autarky. And so a good example, a rare earth mineral, that like bauxite or something like that they could import, I know, from French Morocco. Boy, I forget what it was. And there was at least one fairly large deposit of it in Germany, but the purity or density or whatever, and I'll get to some of the chats here in a minute, USA Man and Maxim and Ari, the density of it was not that great to the impurities of other, stuff, whether it was dirt or just rocks or whatever, it doesn't really matter. And so when the mining companies were asked to develop it, they looked at it and said it wasn't profitable enough to make it worth setting up a mining facility. So that the idea was that you could mine it profitably, but one, there was cheaper foreign sources, competitors, but also the time that it takes to, the capital investment that you do need to make to start a mine it takes a while to see a profit, years down the road. And so if it's the profit margin is so slim on this, it could say, I don't know, I'm just speculating here, say take 20 years before you're in profit, and then it's profitable after that, to pay back the startup cost. Now, they couldn't quite tell the mining companies, hey, we're planning on going to war with everybody. This was, in this time frame, 36, 37. We're planning on going to war with everybody, so we've got to develop this, so you start developing it. They couldn't quite say that. So they had Hermann Goering Works go in there and develop the mine because it could be done. So the German state, in essence, paid for it through the 4-year plan. And so, yeah, it was a strategic resource that could be had. Now, while Germany is developing the mine, they didn't cut off their arm or something by not importing the stuff from foreign sources. And it was only once, they got the refined materials coming out of the mine, do they push the idea of buy German instead of foreign. So if they're, whatever it may be, rubber, say, rubber or something that, well, we could do it synthetically. Yeah, but if we don't have enough synthetic plants today for today's needs, yes, buy it from the Dutch East Indies. It wasn't some sort of weird ideological, well, we'll just do without the rubber because we want to build an autarky. And so they weren't doing that. Now, they did have problems with, foreign currency exchange situations. So there was that problem for sure. But that's a different issue. And since there's no money in the game, don't need to worry about it. Okay, can you play as Israel? Britain could release Israel as a state, and I think you could tag switch over to it if you wanted to. I don't know specifically with this mod. I haven't played Britain and released it, and I don't know if there's much there, as events or anything, but theoretically, yes, you could play as Israel. You'd be a single state province, or country, I should say. Research thought or speed would be good. Yeah, that would. What does autarky? Autarky is, there you go, Aries doing it. Independence or self-sufficiency. And so that's the whole idea. And this is what was definitely going around at the time. You had you didn't even have autarky, like I was trying to think in the 18th century where you had mercantilism. But you definitely, around this time, you have the idea that empires or great nations, and those are almost the same thing, because Germany, gets unified. Well, we want to be a great nation. Well, we need an empire, because Prussia, basically, unless you count places like East Prussia or whatever as some sort of colonial possession over, say, Poland, Prussia did not have any colonies. But once you unite the German Empire, well, the German Empire needs colonies, so they get, there's nothing that green in this part of the world. And there's definitely that type of desert too, but it's more dry, a lot of dry. The Kaviti Strip out here is the Makati down here might be considered marshland. But yeah, some of it is. This is not very useful, except for Wavis Bay, which was British, and the diamonds that were eventually found in the area. And so they also grab up Tanganyika, Togo here, and Cameroon, which is partly this and partially over in here. British and French sort of split up their colony. So they grab that and grab the island. So great nations wanted to have empires. And then because of World War One, it sort of, and its aftermath, sort of really nails in the idea that these great nations need to be self-sufficient, because you had much of the civilized world, shall we say, which is basically all the rest of the world, one degree or another sort of boycotting, working with the Soviet Union because they're revolutionary communists, and revolutionary communists suck. So you had that. You had Germany, of course, in World War One, being cut off from resources, critical ones, including food, for its self-sufficiency. So, oops, if we ever go to war with anybody again, it could lead to, whether it's Britain or France or whoever, but somebody with a big fleet cutting us off from imports. And if our local neighbors, whoever they may be at the time, depending on the size of Germany, might not want to trade with us, so we'd either need to invade them or whatnot. So, just let's say if Yugoslavia is independent, they don't want to trade, and Italy doesn't want to trade, and they're fighting France and Britain. That may cut them off from supplies from other parts of the world, so they'd have to invade them. So they wanted to set that up. Japan, of course, gets this pushed. Autarky gets more and more pushed because they use economic sanctions to punish Japan for bad behavior, and particularly China. So autarky becomes an important idea amongst nations of different types here. Tanzania. I'd have to look at my stuff, but not. You're thinking Tanganyika, but yeah, may have had some, but I don't think huge amounts. What is now Namibia was at one point. South Africa? No, it wasn't. Okay. Since this is also a hangout thing and not just a making episodes for YouTube, we'll talk about the history of Southwest Africa here. South Africa, which eventually, at some point, it becomes a British colony. I don't want to go into all the history and development of South Africa right now. That's a whole nother long topic. Okay, now Britain out here at Walvis Bay, which is just a tiny little blip out here, was a British/English colony. Then the Germans showed up and basically get all of the rest of this, and so it's German Southwest Africa, or whatever it is specifically called, German Südwest, Deutsches Südwest Africa, or whatever. And it's basically this minus Walvis Bay. They actually import a bunch of camels down here to have a German cavalry camel corps down for patrolling and maintaining here. A lot of this is sort of grasslands. There are some real harsh desert areas, and at some point they do find diamonds, but part of that is around Walvis Bay. There's also diamonds in other parts too, of Rhodesia, South Africa, and whatnot. And then World War One happens. The British plow in and take it pretty quickly. Germans put up a bit of a fight. The Germans here had been supplying the Afrikaners, which were basically Dutch people, in their independence movement around 1900 with weaponry. So they were sort of playing around here, but they get crushed pretty quickly where Vorbeck, come on, get back on here, fights the whole war and has not surrendered by the time the Germans surrender. Now he eventually moves, because Portugal goes to war with Germany. He moves into Mozambique and rampages around there. Hello, we took. You should import less iron and bauxite. I think you thought you have 200 surplus. You can always trade and reactivate steel mines. Yes, that's good advice, and I should do that. Das Südwestern lid. Okay, Harry. Yeah. So what we should do here close, trade. Okay, so we will. No, I want to just come down. Let's see about doing that. And bauxite. So I want to come down here. I didn't want to click on 0. Okay, well, we'll see how this goes and we'll readjust. Okay, so yeah, I entirely disagree, and this is I don't want to overstate it, but and I do want to give this mod a try, but do you have to do this before the war starts? Well, I sure would like IG Farben before the war starts, but not quite a I'm going to quit playing, but it's getting near. If I wasn't trying to do this for the series, that's getting near for me. The idea of, hey, I don't want to play this. And last playthrough, because I did that wanting to get IG Farben, I really didn't realize that it was going to kill all of my ability to import things like rubber. Okay, yep, we're going to do Pina Monday. You're right, Ari, looks good. Okay, and we can produce more factories. So let's come down here. They're almost full. Well, that state could have one. That state could have one. Very good. Let's look again. Did they ever move down? Okay, now it did move down to 39%. That's good. But still, that's way, in my opinion, way too much. Way too much. It was only allowed to happen once Germany went to war with the Allies. It would have made sense. Yeah, but it's partly I want to get IG Farben developing synthetic resources, which they were doing. They were actually working IG Farben, particularly with synthetic rubber, not fuel, but rubber, with I think it was Standard Oil of America. I know it was America. Yeah, pretty sure it's Standard Oil. So they were working towards autarky, but with other nations. So, yeah. Do you think whenever the World of Blaze series comes to close, you will try the New World Order next? I have no idea. They admitted, Colonial Rebel admitted to IKB that starting the war and they're basically admitted that their supply effect penalties were too great on Russia. I would like them to fix it. Obviously, I've liked it for a long time that they would fix it. And if they fix it, I want to play another Black Ice game. So I don't know when I'm getting to New World Order, Ari. It's not a thing I'm trying to avoid, but I do want to look at Black Ice if they fix that. Pre-war that. Yes. Pizza time. Oh, okay. He's ordered, I guess, pizza. Very good. Okay. Well, we could use some anti-aircraft guns. So let's put a couple. Okay, we got a bunch from Austria. So let's put a couple in there. We can do another anti-tank gun. What are we? Okay, heavy infantry equipment. We could use heavy infantry equipment as well. And of course support and panzers. So yeah, we'll go 5 and go a whole 5. Support equipment. No, I don't want to. Okay, we're gonna start another panzer line, so we can just do 2 there. And then when some more factories come online, support equipment, yeah, we'll do another 5 of those. I guess we could use them. Wasn't Italy's army less motorized than Germany? Oh, well, yeah. I mean, less motorized through the whole period, for sure. It's somewhere, I think, around 1940. I'd have to look in the book again. That Italy finally decides to sort of motorize its army and realize, put the squeeze on them, I guess, that they need much greater motorization infrastructure generally in Italy to be able to motorize their military divisions, and just not just like it's focusing for armored divisions, but need more trucks and that type of thing, but also needing fuel infrastructure in particular around Italy to be able to, because if you have, say, three motorized divisions, whether they're motorized infantry, motorized armor, or sort of, a mixed up sort of panzer grenadier idea, and you go, oh, get them up over here, and whether you drive up there, which maybe you might presume that they would do, but often they would still move them via rail, but get there and then start driving around, you might in a day or two use up all the gasoline in the area, because Italy, just as a nation, isn't very motorized. And so, yeah, there are gas stations around. I think a lot of them were still literally, they had stacks of cans of gas that they would pour into the, into the gas tanks of the cars, and not like a filler pump. But even if they had filler pumps, yeah, they're for the cars for the elites, which are either, fancy, limousine type cars, or they're, Italian runabout sports car type things. But those are just the few and the elites. And yeah, buses and whatnot in some of the major cities were running, I'm sure, and that was spreading. But the fuels, because the amount of fuel a motorized division is going to use is a lot. Give Heinz Guderian his great upgrades. Yeah, we could see about that. Let's see if there's anything. Okay. Okay. Yeah. We have plenty of that. Our division motor. Yeah, we're going to do Panzer Expert. There we go. And does he have no trade updates for von Rundstedt? The National Congress is triumphant. Okay, well, now you swing down this way. The Panay incident is where Japan attacks the USS Panay on one of the major rivers in China with air attacks. Okay, so we are still, well, we just now hit 39 or 38. Yeah, we will do computing machines. If you're going to do something like that, it's best to do it early. Okay, yeah, I think I want to spam out more fighters, so we want production cost of fighters down. And if you haven't either subscribed on YouTube yet or followed over on Twitch, please do so. I am streaming live to both services at the moment, and seeing both chats, so don't worry, your chat's being seen wherever you are at. Well, this is going to be a while. Okay, we can. How are we doing for resources? Okay, yeah, that's just down over that, but we still have plenty of steel being made. So, more military factories. Raid infantry, very good. Not this one? No, that one. Okay, so we can now research here. Encirclement, Sherplunk, we're going to do the German ones just because we're Germany, if no other reason. What is the time? At this time, if a nation wants to produce synthetic oil, for example, what are their options? Okay. Basically, it's you are liquefying coal is for synthetic fuel, and that creates a type of oil, if you will. There are two processes that Germany uses to liquefy coal, and each one is better. I don't know if it's exclusively useful, so I'm going to say better for a different type of coal, both commonly found in Germany. So they use both processes, and I forget the names of the process of liquefying coal into an oil-like substance, and then from there it is processed. It can be just used as fuel oil, whether burning in a furnace for heating or a furnace for to generate electricity or something like in a factory, or fuel oil for a lot of ships can run off of, especially if it's light sweet crude, which is a grade of crude oil, light sweet crude. Can run out of that straight out of the well in the ground, though it would be better for, and these are ships that are sort of steam turbine ships. These aren't like you would see like in a submarine or a motor torpedo boat, that has an internal combustion engine, that type of thing, because most of the ships are steam, but they're steam turbines, so they heat up. It would be better to use a slightly refined oil, just a little cleaner burning, leaves less residue, definitely significantly less maintenance long term, because you got to get in there and clean all the gunk out eventually. I don't know if short term less maintenance. So you could basically run that with maybe very little work. Otherwise, you are refining it into gasoline from the sort of liquefied coal. So that's what artificial fuel is liquefied coal. And that's what Germany is focusing on. The US is basically doing no significant research. Just means that I'm sure some of the companies are doing it, but it's not putting much resources behind it because the US has plenty of oil. Where Germany doesn't. Now it looks like we're slowly grinding through these guys. Good. Well, they've got a nice potential. They could get their act together. Cut off a few divisions there. Paying too much attention to the non-action in the war, then we should be building more factories. And that has freed up. I'll give this more. Again, I know I should always look here. Okay, support equipment. Now we're building more than we're using, but we still need to catch up considerably. So let's. Do I want a whole other 5? You know, let's just add another line. Production, I know it won't have any research, but this way I can just add a few at a time, as well as when I really want to add a full 5. Because I want to see about increasing some of these other things like motorization. Well, I think we also need another thing. Heavy weapon. The USA during this time have significant interest in. Oh yes, they definitely had significant interest in synthetic rubber. That was a pretty big thing. The U.S. had fairly heavy interest in synthetic materials at this time, for sure. Yeah, come down this way. Rubber, what is mostly down around here naturally. The Germans plant some rubber when they had the colony in Tanganyika over here, both, and they're harvesting it both from plantations as well as basically rubber growing, spread and growing in the wild that locals were just harvesting on their own. So there was definitely some rubber coming out of Tanganyika, and sort of U.S. influenced. One of my sort of distant ancestors spent some time in Brazil trying to work. I don't know exactly what he was doing, but in rubber production, growth, something in Brazil. So, and there is some rubber developed in Brazil, and I think in other places in Africa too. I'm not sure right offhand. So the U.S. is trying to get rubber out of sort of a British-Dutch regional monopoly down here. And it goes back to autarkies partially, but also mercantilism. Mercantilism is a pre-capitalist market economy, if you will. It is not capitalism. It is, I'm trying to think, basically zero state ownership of resources or companies or businesses, so it's not socialistic. It is basically zero state control of the company's ownership of the resources, any of that. So there's none of that. But there is heavy state control over import and or export of whether it's produced goods or resources or things like fuel or food, particularly in the 18th and 19th century, but fuel as well. And so and I know British mercantilism the best, is so that the idea is that if you produce something down here in one of the British Leeward Islands here, could be whether like sugar or rum, it needs to be exported to Britain, and then from Britain exported to the U.S. No direct trade. So this way, everything comes through Britain. A bad, terrible result of the laws is what they call the corn laws. And corn really sort of means like grain, not like maize or the American corn that gets spread everywhere else. So they're called corn laws. And there's laws that forbade importation of basically wheat into the British Isles to protect local farmers. So Canada, being part of the British Empire, cannot make a lot of wheat and put local English or Irish or Scottish wheat farmers out of business. So you can't import cheaper grain into Britain to protect British grain services. Now you can import other things from Canada, but not grain. Well, there's a high demand for grain in England because the population in the 19th century is growing. There is money in England to pay for this, so you make a lot of money. So so all of the big landowners were growing grain in Ireland, and the people were living off of in Ireland were living off of potatoes. Well, a potato blight, basically something that an infection of the potato plant, I don't know, but beyond that, gets in there and basically kills off the potato crop. So they're exporting the grain from Ireland to Britain, and the people in Ireland are starving because there's no food. And you can't import food because it's against the law. And the landowner, and this is really stupid policies, of course, is going, well, they'll pay me twice as much for food in London than they will for food here because these people are poor. So we're going to let the people here starve. Well, they make sure like the workers on the particular farm or whatever, yeah, they get food, but all the rest of the people are like starving in Ireland. And this is just really a horrific thing. So this is sort of mercantilism. It's not that, because the government didn't at the time have the power to tell the farmers, no, don't export. I mean, they could change the laws, but they couldn't, they didn't have, it wasn't like communism or socialism or whatever, where you had the ability to enforce individual actions. You just had movement of goods, basically, laws. And so that's sort of mercantilism. It isn't capitalism, but it is a market economy. I hope that lets you know what's going on with that. Wasn't the corn laws very well? No, it was very popular in England because hey, you made all kinds of money in England. This is World Ablaze mod, Mohammed. Or for fact, don't quite know. Frequently asked questions, is that something? I'm not getting that shorthand. Okay, back to the war in Spain. Panzerkampfwagen is it 3 aus A? I don't know, it's probably my very bad German. I've been told it's fun to listen to me pronounce bad German. Monday, Army Research, very good. Okay. Okay, well, we don't have a large enough army yet, though this is, I think, maybe it's more June-ish. The Sudetenland crisis comes up. Westwall would be nice, I guess, before we push on the Sudetenland. Yeah, we'll do the research bonuses first, though. We'll get those coming soon. Okay, enables delay tactic, plastic defense. Sort of like the recovery rate speed. The supply grace is nice. Less organization loss and moving. I think I'm going to go with that one. Oh, what are we talking about? Construction and production values are changing by the mod. Oh yeah, they're basically halved and doubled the amount of factories and all kinds of things like that. That is what, don't know what area's going on other than something about maybe the Irish fascists. I don't know. More about lower growth production. Okay, so that we will do. And we're going to keep the stream going, but I'm going to be ending this episode. So those of you watching later on YouTube, thanks for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And of course, I'd love to hear your comments, either about the topics we've been discussing or the mod itself. Thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron. Okay, guys, I'm going to grab a Coke. We're going to continue this for sure, but I'm not going anywhere. But I will be back. You mentioned Hanzo thought the song, and that led me to the bloopers. Okay, guess what? We need Airy. What is it, O'Day or something? I forget. In a moment. How much of a difference would National Spain make if they join the Axis? Well, if you consider my opinion that it would have been better for the Axis had Italy not gone into the war, Spain would be a worse problem because that'd be more territory for Germany to defend. Has he talked his opinions about the mod yet? Yeah, well, I've been sort of doing this. Hello. Mostly, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name. I like a lot of it. There are certain things like the warping economic thing. I don't like that. That's a significant thing, not a huge thing. Oh. This autarky thing I'm vehemently against, though that's just, yeah, one focus. It has some, you know, effects there that are significant. So, yeah, generally, though, I'm liking it. When I played through last time, I was warned by the developers that my divisions looked too weak and I couldn't defeat France. So I'm going for fewer, stronger divisions this time, and we will see how things go. And that's going to really be the deciding is first France, then Russia. Those are the two things that'll be deciding factors on whether I really like this mod. Yeah, well, the Spanish. Okay, Spain is devastated by the Civil War. Okay, I'm going to make a short Spanish Civil War video here. You guys are getting me on this topic, and we'll do this. So I'm going to make this special video. Hello, fellow armchair generals. We're going to talk a bit about Spain, and this is not meant to be some sort of all-inclusive video. And there's some really great documentary series on the Spanish Civil War in Spain. I was asked by USA Man, how much difference would nationalist Spain make if they joined the Axis? And well, my opinion has long been that had Italy stayed out of World War II, it would have greatly helped Germany but be friendly to Germany. And so, well, if you have, well, you could, Britain or the U.S. could invade Vichy France in the south here, but Italy would be sitting here with the sort of threat of joining the war, especially when Britain alone. And so it has a significant navy. You can't invade through here. And invading, you keep Greece out of the war, you keep Yugoslavia out of the war, so the Allies aren't going to invade down here. So Germany can ignore all of this stuff and have some degree of resource trading from Italy to Germany. I don't know whether that's big time trading or a trickle of trade, but some level of trade coming up to Germany, and that would have helped Germany. Okay, Spain, if you bring it into the war, is just that on steroids. It's, Germany now has to defend all of this territory additionally. And yes, as Aries talked about, Gibraltar probably would have quickly fallen. Yeah, I can't see it. It's withstanding a modern. I mean, the guys in the tunnels could, that are in the rock there, and the British were expert. I have not been to Gibraltar, I've been in those tunnels, but I have been through a tunnel made by the British with experience from Gibraltar. In Edinburgh, there's Edinburgh Castle. Well, in the modern time, maybe back in the 80s it was or something, they tunnel through part of the rock. It's a volcanic plug, very, very hard, very thick, to give sort of a driving tunnel up into the castle instead of going through the tradition or the original sort of gate works to get into the center of the castle. I've had the privilege of driving my car up into there because of some video shoot I was involved with many years ago in there. So we started before the castle opened in the morning, so we drove in through there, and I did drive out later. So I've gone through one of the tunnels, and it was explained to me that the British, through their expertise of tunneling through Gibraltar, used that to tunnel effectively through the castle without disturbing a lot of the historical elements of the rock itself, and then the castle around it and whatnot. But so there's a lot of the ability to withstand the siege there, but all the sort of Gibraltar city and the port and the airport there just would be blasted by Spanish/German artillery. And yeah, there might be some sort of long siege by guys in tunnels but otherwise, it's over pretty quick for everything else. But the big problem is food. And like I said, we were talking a bit about Spain, not just in World War II, but Spain leading up to it. Spain's economy, in say, I don't know, 1920, is still looking back 100, 150 years in the way they farm, in their farming methods, in their farming organization. Often it's massive landowners with peasants sort of maybe not quite tied to the land, but are there. And this is still like in 1920. And using entirely, basically, at least in the large, I mean, I'm sure you can find some tractors or something around, but almost the entirety of food production, the vast majority, is entirely muscle powered, whether human muscle power or animal muscle power, in its production, in its refinement, taking, wheat once it's cut down and turning it into grain, and then turning it into flour is muscle power. Or, well, I guess there's wind and water a little bit for, windmills and water mills. But this is into the 20s, and it's all muscle powered, and it's very inefficient. It's just a very backward country. And it's part of the reason, and there's multiple reasons for the Spanish Civil War. And as one of the documentaries I was recently rewatching about it, a lot of the foreigners that came to Spain, particularly, they're talking about foreign volunteers, not so much about the Italians or the Germans or the Soviet advisors. There really weren't Soviet divisions in Spain, though. But all the other people that sort of came on both sides of the faction saw the war in sort of big ideological terms, socialism, communism versus fascism or whatever, or God versus atheism, because I think a lot of the Irish volunteers that go on the national side aren't really like diehard fascists. A lot of them are sort of rabid Catholic type supporters, been radicalized by Protestant British treatment of the Irish. I think there's some of that sentiment there, so they're fighting for the cross, as it were, or whatever. So there's a lot of causes, and the Spanish sort of like, yeah, you're not understanding the real local reasons for this war. And there's a lot of various local reasons, and some of them are very regional, just affecting one little part, and one faction for one reason or another ends up, one faction up here ends up being in part of the major faction, Republican or nationalist, because something aligns to it. But it might mean that your Basques may be, and I don't even know where the Basques, quite honestly, came down on the Spanish Civil War right now, but they might be very, I think the Basques were generally very religious, but I'm guessing they might have been on the Republican side. I'm not sure, just because they're sort of centralized government or something. So you get some of these kind of things. So you get people sort of not fully, disagreeing vehemently with what the propaganda is coming out from the sort of central their side, just because their local interest puts them on the other faction, kind of thing. Hope you get it. But okay, so Spain is devastated by the Spanish Civil War, and it still has a primitive food growth. So Spain is maybe not quite starving like we were talking earlier before making this episode. Ireland and the Irish potato blight and the problems in the latter part of the 19th century in Ireland for food. But Spain needs massive amounts of food to keep its populations fed. Now, Hitler comes down to Spain, and then maybe to Zaragoza or somewhere down here, I think, for a visit, and another time they are right just sort of at the border somewhere. Comes down and meets with, maybe I'm thinking Zaragoza and Himmler, I don't know. But comes down and meets with Franco. And Hitler wants to get Spain into the Axis and into the war. Again, I say stupidly, because it's better for them to not be in the war. And now realize that once France falls, Germans are buying guns made in Spain. I have an Astra pistol that was basically a contract build for the Germans, and they built them specifically in 9mm Parabellum instead of Largo. They were building them for the Germans. Now, mine never got accepted by the Germans, so there's no Waffen-Amp stamps on it. So it was probably part of the contract that was either built and not shipped because cut off from Spain, or they just continued to build some as Germany's still buying. But basically, by the end of 45, they stopped building the pistols in that caliber and that setting. So they're building things like pistols, actually in this part of Spain, and other things that they're selling to Germany. So the trains are going back and forth during the war years once France falls, with supplies for Germany of one sort or another, including a lot of either called wolfram, but we know it in the modern sense, tungsten, being acquired from both sides of the border with Portugal here, and refined a bit and sent into Germany. Massively needed strategic resource for Germany. So Spain is trading heavily with Germany during the war years. But Hitler wants them in the war. So Franco, and I know this can take you out of context, and I'm not saying to me, Franco is a hero. I'm not saying he's a good guy, because he does bad things, but I don't know whether he's a good guy or bad guy, even though he does bad things, because he's in a bad situation. Okay, Franco finds himself in a bad situation, and God, that can be taken out of context years from now, and Ari knows sort of some of my problems with saying that. But one of the things that he makes me his hero is what he does with Hitler, is he keeps Spain out of the war. Now there are, if you will, concentration camps, not death camps, nothing like that to the best of my knowledge, but they're still camps with a lot of Republicans, we'll call them, people that were, now there's huge numbers of Republicans. Tens of thousands of Republican soldiers flee Spain, get out, and get primarily to France. But there's a lot captured, surrendered, whatever. Now, many of the just average soldiers do sort of get to go home, but there are a lot of the sort of leader types in the thousands that are still in camps. But these are diehard, in many cases, diehard communists and others that would love to overthrow and wreck the regime, and do you trust them and just let them out? Well, of course, if you're a leftist, you'll say yes, because you want them to get out and then cause trouble. So I'm not saying it's right what he was doing, but he at least thinks he's trying to preserve peace. But so Franco's trying to reduce human misery, okay? He really is. And this is a time in which, there's a fucking world war going on, and he's keeping his nation out of it. So that's sort of why I see him as a bit of a hero. Now, again, he might be a hero with a lot of black marks against his name. Granted, I'm not going to argue with some of the people, and not everything, because Franco was not a fascist. The Phalangist group was a subgroup. His main, the foreign minister of Spain during the World War is a Phalangist, a fascist. So there are fascists in his government. He is a nationalist. So, it's not 100% good guy. I'm not saying that. But he's trying to reduce human misery, and he's keeping his nation out of the war. And so when Hitler wants him into the war, and this is at a time when it's sort of Britain alone, and I think it was before the invasion of the Soviet Union starts. I'd have to check that date. Hitler comes down and has a meeting with Franco. Now, Franco doesn't like Hitler, and because Hitler doesn't get what he wants, Hitler doesn't like Franco. But basically, Franco realizes, if I tell Hitler no, he might, not saying he would, and I think there was definitely, if not explicitly stated, a general implied threat that they might. And Hitler's either at different times wanting to simply have access to be able to attack Gibraltar in Spain. Franco says no to that because he thinks it would, open access. There are covert operations going on, but open access for the Germans in Spain, Franco says no. But if he generally says no to joining the war, Hitler may invade, and Hitler's looking like unstoppable. This is, I do believe, before the invasion of the Soviet Union, or when this early days of the Soviet invasion is going well. So Franco's afraid of being invaded. So Franco is a smart cookie. So what he says is, sure, Hitler, I'll join the war. Here's my big long list of needs I need fulfilled before I could possibly join the war. And it's created a list of real needs of Spain. And I'm not saying it's inflated, but it's sort of like a wish list. Now, some of it is like, oh, hey, we need, a bunch more aircraft and a bunch more tanks and things like that you might expect. But one of the big line items is, oh, we need this many tons of food delivered per month. Start delivering all this food to us and we'll join your war, Hitler. Basically knowing that Germany's in a bit of a food crisis and isn't going to have the food and isn't going to have all these resources. So he creates a list that isn't like some radically could never happen, he's just asking for the world or whatever, but he's asking for a set of stuff that is not likely to be fulfilled. So Hitler goes away with, yes, as soon as you do this impossible list, we'll join your war. And so this gets to the point of if Spain joins the war. Well, Spain, we talked about, they're constantly trading with Germany. Again, weapons, raw materials are going mostly through this part because they're not trading so much via Vichy, going into Spain. And there's some secret cooperation with U-boats. The Germans at some point put a radar station in one of these islands to sort of watch in that part of the Mediterranean. That I think it's this one, that the Spanish are not allowed into the building. They're providing general security for it, and the Germans are there in non-uniforms, so they're not officially there as any soldiers or anything, but they're manning the radar with the idea that they're supposed to destroy the radar before letting it fall into either Spanish or anybody else's hands. And sort of reporting, if there's reporting to Spain if what's not, if they spot things, but it, to keep it secret is more of that kind of stuff. So there's sort of covert cooperation, and also cooperation with Italy. We can go into that some other time. But so they're trading with Germany, but they need food. They need food desperately. And part of the reason they're trading with Germany is they're making money. And they're insisting that they're being paid by things other than German Reichsmarks, gold, silver, and maybe some of this is some of the other stuff is counterfeit, is things like British pounds, US dollars. And of course, when Germany rolls into some of these countries, they pick up large reserves, that are in national banks and whatnot of some of these things. And so Spain, I know, and I don't know in detail, but is like trying to import food from places like Argentina, Brazil, whatever. So all of that food that's coming into Spain, as well as its contact with its minor sort of colonies out here, would be almost instantly cut off. I mean, it might sort of get a little bit of, when this is Vichy territory, contact down here, but everything else is instantly cut off as soon as you go to war with even just the British without the Americans. So I'll get to the back to the chat in a moment, guys. So Spain coming into the war for Germany, in my opinion, is a huge liability. And then even if you don't have the food crisis situation, somehow you were able to get twice as much grain out of Ukraine, or I don't know, whatever it might be, um, fulfill the and I know they need lots of food, and I know they need to import it. They're trying to increase food production in Spain, trying to modernize. I don't even know if Spain is a net food importer or exporter for basic calories. Often you'll have a country like Spain that will, and I know they have a lot of greenhouses in Spain now, and I don't know if I think a lot of that is to minimize water usage. So evaporation is sort of condensation into the sort of plastic, sort of create mini little rain ideas so that the water doesn't all evaporate out. Sometimes you do specialty foods grown in a place like Spain to sell to, other parts of Europe and whatnot. And so that's a cash crop. And so then it's cheaper to, I don't know, import US or Canadian grain for just basic feeding the people, where you could turn the land over from a cash crop to a food crop, local use food crop. I don't know. I still don't know whether it's, and of course, population levels change. So the population levels may have post-war blossomed out, and so they never got to the way of a food problem. But so even without the food problem, Spain is and I've been reading a multi-volume series on the Peninsula War, which is, the Napoleonic Wars happening down in Spain, is a very mountainous, very rugged country. It isn't going to be blitzing across like you can do this sort of northern plains of France, sort of the level of delay that the sort of bocage, which is sort of super hedges, happened here was a little bit of a surprise to the Allies. Yes, they had aerial photos. Yes, they knew what was going on, but just to the sort of almost creating pseudo city-like environments, there was a little bit of a oopsie, didn't quite realize it, trained for it or anything beforehand there. But this is very blitzable across here. You don't quite have that here, but if you had a few German divisions strung out along wherever the coast is, and then, especially if, as Aries said, if you take Gibraltar and you shut down here and reinforce, Moroccan coastal garrisons, maybe with German troops, you might be more cutting off, deeper invasions into the Mediterranean for sure. But then, U.S. violates Portuguese neutrality by just sort of coming in and taking that over during the war. Once the U.S. is in, basically, setting up anti-submarine operations there and allowing the local Portuguese officials to continue running, local Portuguese affairs, but anything dealing with the Allies, the U.S. is just in charge. So they do sort of violate there. So you can see the U.S. and Britain violating Portuguese sovereignty and just invading there if it was better. Or you got all this extra coastal area which doesn't have, Atlantic wall defenses on it. Is much more areas for air units. Yeah, you can fly air units around, but really you can come in so many more invasion areas, and might not be come in here and blitz across Spain, but you're only dealing with Spanish units that have limited motivations, I would say. Sort of like Italy. I don't think outside of, there is the Blue Division that goes fights in Russia, which are filled up with a bunch of phalangists that I think Franco is like, yeah, you go off and fight the evil atheist communist. Hope you do well. Hope you don't return, kind of thing, because they're more pains in the ass back home. And so you have those type of people, but those aren't the majority of Spanish soldiers, and so the majority of Spanish soldiers might not be entirely happy with the U.S. They did get their butts kicked in Cuba and whatnot a while ago, but they don't have any great hatred for Britain or for the U.S. and didn't really want to get in and just have another war after having a devastating civil war. So I don't know that they would fight very hard. So you just end up having more mountain battles for the Wehrmacht. So yes, Spain entering into World War II is a bad idea for Germany, and just something that just Spain, even if you were able to give it sort of wish list ideas of, food, aircraft, tanks, whatever it is in the wish list, even if you met all those things, you're still not going to get a great ally. Now, when I play, particularly like in Hearts of Iron 3, I like to get Spain into the Axis, but I don't ever have them declare war because they still have a few outposts around, and sort of the mechanics is if they're in the Axis, you can base your ships and your aircraft there and whatnot, and they're just sort of a neutral, friendly neutral kind of thing, and that's good. And maybe at some point, once you've defeated Britain and you're thinking invading some other places around the globe, you might bring them into the war, but they're more trouble than they're worth to have in most games. So let's see if there's interesting chat here regarding all of this. Hello, IKB. Anarak A7, Franco, a hero, really would never considered a brutal fascist. Well, see, he's not a fascist, the dictator. He was willing to join the war after France fell. Okay, yeah, but he wanted half of French North Africa, and I would say his demands against French North Africa are some of the things that Hitler might have been able to or willing to give him, because he gives up nothing that Hitler wanted. I really think it is more the resources and the food he was demanding. And I'm not going to disagree with brutal, but he lived in a brutal time. He was brutal to the, the Carlists, I think, or whatever that rose up, or some mining area. Now, this is when he was fighting for the Republic of Spain. He brutally put that down. He dealt with some of the rebellions down in Spanish Morocco. So he was brutal, okay, but he lived in a brutal time. I would say people like Eisenhower and Patton and Bomber Harris. Hell, Bomber Harris, who was a very brutal general. I mean, he was an Air Force, Royal Air Force general, bombing Berlin. It was a brutal time. We brutally bombed Berlin. So FDR was a brutal leader. He, so all the people that love FDR, he locks up in prisons, in concentration camps, out in god-awful parts of America. And I've been to one of the places that just, you barely see any trace of it left, out in the California desert. The Japanese American citizens. So FDR is brutal. So you're going to go brutal on me. It was a brutal time. We bombed, we imprisoned our own citizens that we thought were a danger. And not just the people like Fritz Kuhn, the leader of the German-American Bund, which we had all kinds of evidence against. That's one thing. Another thing, and then they did lock up a lot of German citizens and Italian citizens living in the U.S., but not as many as a percentage. Tokyo firebomb. Yeah, we nuked 2 cities. Now that was under Truman. It was a brutal time. So brutal dictator. Well, he was a dictator, yes, but brutal. Yeah, it's a brutal time. If you were in government from 1914 to 1945, it was a brutal time. I don't think Western people understand how brutal it was. And, from the Russian Revolution and Civil War, that was brutal. Goings on in China with the Chinese Sun Yat-sen and the Chinese Revolution against the last of the Qing dynasty there with Henry Puyi gets overthrown. It's a brutal time in China. Just even without the Japanese effing around in it, China is a brutal situation. And so, yeah, the world is brutal. So you need brutal leaders to face up to it. So yeah, he was brutal. So I'm not going to discount his brutality. We didn't have Google overlords who could spy out who were the wrong thinkers. They had to go after it. It was brutal. Franco was not a fascist. And if you think he was a fascist, that's because the communists say he was a fascist. And the communists say every single American president is a fascist. You listen to the Soviet propaganda coming out of the Soviet Union during the Cold War. They will describe, Democrat or Republican, every single American president as being a fascist. They were always fighting the fascists. They're always smashing the fash. Every enemy of the Soviet Union was fascist, whether it would be in Spain or the U.S. or wherever. They were all fascists. So in that sense, yeah, we're all fascists, if you're going to use that bad language. Bad as in mischaracteristic. But Franco, to the best of my knowledge, was never a member of the Spanish Falangist Party, never a strong advocate for it. Yes, his foreign minister, I know, was a Falangist, and there were other Falangists in his government because he was leading a coalition government. And so he dealt with them. But he had monarchists, he had various forms of capitalist type elements within there. Just basically everything that wasn't a syndicalist, socialist, or communist was basically in his government. And I'm a friend, I'm not going to say good friend, lived in Spain for part of Franco's regime and quite liked it. And this is more like in the late 1960s, early 1970s, but quite liked it. I go, yeah, it's, a bit of an authoritarian regime, he said, most assuredly, but it was not a fascist regime. There was an attempt at a fascist coup after Franco dies that immediately fails badly. And so, yeah, and your other, military dictator. Yeah, he was a military dictator. He didn't start the problems. He didn't start the coup that failed, that then went into a civil war. He had, it wasn't until they were starting to assassinate people in large numbers, the Republicans I'm talking about, did he finally start acting and then joined it. So yeah, military. But what does Franco do? Unlike most military dictators, he sets up a transition to power on his death to a constitutional monarchy that is still in Spain today. And yes, I know the people up here separatists don't like the Madrid central government. Catalan is separatist, but otherwise is still a relatively popular, relatively democratic government under the monarchy. And so he sets up that transition in such a way by reinstalling a monarchy with a significant democratic base. He does it so that, yeah, you can swing to the socialists, but you can't have, so long as the monarchy is in there, you're not going to have a revolution. You can swing to the right wing if you want to, but you're not going to go, radical fascist because you still have a monarch in there. So you sort of set up a pendulum with just a limited swing to the right and to the left. to the right and to the left. So hopefully no death squads, hopefully no terrorism, hopefully no bad things happening, and you swing a little to the right, you swing a little to the left, set up in Spain. And that's what his legacy to me is in Spain, is sort of his final hero movement of setting Spain up as a reasonable Western country. So that is another reason he is also a bit of a hero for me, is he sets up his transition for after his death. You know, at least in the end, he brought back the monarch himself. Yes, he made himself regent for life. Yeah. How popular was anarchism in Spain at the time? Well, anarchism / syndicalism was rather popular. Syndicalism, as sort of an element of anarchism and whatnot, really only takes hold in Spain. I don't know the ideologies in detail of all of the various militia factions on the Republican side. Anarchism in Europe in the late 19th, early 20th century may mean different things than when people say anarchism today. I think they generally do. I don't know, it's sort of hard to explain, and I don't want to go into too much detail because I'm probably going to get things wrong on all this. Is this gameplay or history class, guys? This is history class. We're getting back to the gameplay after the end. Guess we're going to end this special episode of Spain and the Second World War. Thanks, everyone, for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like the videos, post your comments below. See you next time for more videos, historical videos. Okay. Yeah, I made a special episode. So he'll head. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Don't mean to. Blame USA Man. He was asking me questions and I decided to answer them in a special video. Okay. Back to making a regular episode in which we will have gameplay. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing look at World Ablaze mod for Hearts of Iron 4, and we are in the middle of fighting in the Spanish Civil War. Hello, Dark Axe. Every class is history class, yes. Yeah. That is, I guess, what I have decided, and I think partially from feedback, I think people like it, is what makes me different from other YouTubers. So there is definitely the idea of balancing the right amount of history and gameplay. We have extra. We'll do that. We have extra old fighters. How are we doing on factories? Okay, we still have. And this is also hang out with not just me, but the chat. Talk amongst yourselves, talk with me. Not just simply, okay, good. Goal is to come here and pincer off all this. I think we may will push to. No, you're least organized. We'll use the more organized division to push there. No, I did not play The Last Days of Europe. What are we doing for equipment? Okay, other than support equipment, looks like okay. Oh, now we can start building more. Don't know that I want to do another whole 5 of those right now. We'll get those producing. Let's see what other generals can we... I like recovery rate.
Achtung!
I like maybe makeshift bridges. For Rommel. Hey, Nels. Thank you very much. But I do take in the criticism that I got to keep the gameplay going. I was specifically making a video that was just a talking video on Spain and its relation to World War II. And it will be labeled and put out as such. Okay, well, now you, just because we want to reduce the front line here. Okay, no, not mountainous. There we go, that's better. Okay, mechanized army now. Okay, let's see about moving all of you guys over to there. I think it's mostly just over here that we need to push some more units, maybe not for. And oh, we just had deployment here of these. Still not getting us to enough. Okay. Let's throw in add another division. Okay, that's an okayish division. That's less okay. So we'll continue. Let's see if we can add one of these. Put it down here where it's sort of historically trained. Okay, hopefully that will get going because I do want to get into here in a short while. Let's do Westwall just in case things go pretty bad. Why don't you train my... Well, I intend to. I have sort of learned that with here. The reason I'm reluctant to is just the equipment usage of the units that get used up. I'm thinking 1939-ish to train the units. Okay, now let's see you come this way. Hopefully they'll fill in for that spot effectively. Yeah, that path there looks good. We'll wait a little bit, get some more organization up here. Okay, and yeah, I guess we just need to bite the bullet, as it were. Well, no, let's just go with that. Well, I don't have a verdict yet. I'm liking World Ablaze. My last playthrough, and I was warned and I didn't know how big a deal it was going to be, but my divisions were too weak and I couldn't push out of Belgium. I could take the Netherlands, but I couldn't defeat France. And so I'm accepting that I just did not have strong enough divisions and needed to learn it. So I've started over with this playthrough now. But I'm taking better acquaintance of those conditions. So if things work out well enough, this may be better. But I don't yet have a verdict. 12 fours or 14 fours. Please, I don't know what you're talking about. I maybe guess something, but I'm not really sure what you're referring to. Airy. Okay, didn't specify. Okay, infantry and artillery. Okay, yeah. Well, they're not currently in combat now. The question I've been having is, okay, we can do that. When trying to add regular infantry here, you can see here I only have 800 of 5,800 heavy infantry equipment leveled, so I'm only able to add in light infantry, which maybe really means I need to specify at least another 5, if not more than that, but I don't want to just purely spam that. How are we doing again for infantry equipment? Okay, 28,000. Yeah, I don't want to reduce that down. So yeah, I am planning on increasing the stuff. 30, and I've just never really sort of paid a lot of attention to combat with 31. So we're right now running at 31. So if 30 is ideal, we're right sort of there as it is now. Well, France, and I've thought about France quite a lot. Let me take a drink here. By certain metrics, France has a much stronger army than Germany does in 1940. And I say that in a way because if you go, hey, we've got 10 guys with auto-targeting laser rifles, and they can just start walking across the front and they'll auto-target all French tanks, artillery, infantrymen, and they'll just instantaneously zap everybody. So these 10 soldiers are stronger than the whole 1,000,000-man French army. Okay, yeah, and an army that they get their ass handed to them. But in many ways, in like numbers of artillery pieces, in numbers of tanks, in numbers of aircraft, because the French Air Force alone is equal to, if not greater than, the Luftwaffe in 1940. That's without adding in the British RAF or the Belgian Air Force, which exists but is sort of pathetic. So France, in many ways, is stronger militarily. And so you should have more stronger divisions than Germany does. How do you simulate this in this game that Germany gets to kick France's butt every time? One, have most French divisions because there are a few sort of long-term professional divisions, but most French divisions have lower organization levels than the German divisions do. Just give them national penalties so their organization strength is lower. Two, and this is very historical, is make their organization regain rate, so once they've lost it, incredibly bad. So basically, most divisions, you defeat them once, they're done. You know, they're just, and so now the problem is the AI keeps wanting to effing move divisions around through strategic redeployment, and if you do it, you lose all the organization, so they would just instantly be done. That's a problem. I don't know how you fix it. I don't know if there's a way to fix that. And so, so basically you just have the French divisions of lower organization levels, and then once you just have them really difficult to regain organization. Not impossible, but the idea that if you keep pushing on them, you know, again, yeah, I'm not saying if during the Battle of France, if you have a division sitting back here, it can't regain its organization level. I'm just saying is once you sort of smash through an area and they're in retreat, you keep pushing, they're never going to regain it, kind of thing, to any effective level. And once they get back into combat, they start losing, you know, again and whatnot. So very bad organization regain for France is how I think best to simulate it, and you just have to convince Paradox to change their AI a little bit so that they don't automatically move divisions via strategical redeployment so much. And that way you can have a big French army that's historical, and then you can have a smaller German army kick its butt because it has higher organization and much more rapid regain of its organization. So we're going to see, this is my, you know, and obviously the Spanish Civil War is its own thing, so I'm not judging the rest of the game by it, and I just didn't do well. Whether my fault or the mod's fault, I'm not absolutely sure. In the last playthrough, I will respect the idea that I probably didn't do it justice. Last playthrough. Okay, you come up and support this attack. Or you stop attacking because they stopped attacking. As you can tell, we're just trying to cut that off. I didn't make the front line longer just to make it longer. There we go. We'll support that attack. I hope it's not across the river. No river involved, good. Ah, more factories here, good. How are we doing for resources? They just down tungsten a little bit. But I'm liking a lot of what World of Blaze is at least trying to do. With its trying to be historical. Trying to add in, I just want to make sure this gets occupied before they occupy it. There we go. Fuel refining, great, that should help. Okay, yeah, I should be pushing down this path as well. So that is too far ahead, yes. Okay, so we'll do this. Where were we? Over here. Okay, you guys, because I don't want to attack across the river, so you come up here and here. So you get on that side of the river. We'll try to reduce the Madrid pocket. Attack into the plains where you'll have some of the best advantage. Okay, well, yeah, that was a good advantage. You support that attack. And now you crush that new pocket. And you can support it. There we go. Now there. Into the mountains, well, hills. Okay, good. It's one of those, do you want to win the Spanish Civil War early and get it over and done with, or do you want to keep it going as a sort of training opportunity for earning up here army experience? I don't necessarily have a perfect answer for that. Okay, let's just look. I know we're not ready to do this yet. Okay, we don't have a large enough army, but we got the units into place. Okay, why can't I deploy? Oh, 80% they want. Okay, and we're 71% trained up. I'm hoping that will get me my large enough army. Okay, Panzer IV oust F. Okay, do we put that in production now or wait? I'm going to set up another line of fighters. Okay, you can support that attack. And you can support that attack. Elastic defense, good. And yes, we'll do central planning, I guess. Well, unrealistic AI, that's one element. My biggest complaint currently with Black Ice is the well, they're not even lasting long enough for me to get there. Is the Russia modifiers, the invasion of Russia organization hit thing. I'm too bad on that. And until they get it fixed or something, I have, oh, well, that was stupid. I have very little interest in playing it. Let's come here and deal with the anarchists, I guess, now. No, we want you to... Path of least resistance. Come in there, get up there. Get on the other side of the river. West wall, yay. Sudetenland, yay, okay. Yeah, that sounds good. We'll do that now. It's about right. I think it is June or something. I forget. I'm going to cut off that armored division there. Help crush it. Okay, well, we got rid of the phalanges and we have the big condors. Great. Okay, good. Okay, after my time pulling the French army, I spent their planes through the mass in Poland and with all that outdated planes. Yeah. Part of that I just feel is some of my problems, shall we say, just with Hearts of Iron 4. So I'm really, it's been a fragile install, quite honestly, for Hearts of Iron 3 Black Ice. And all, but I'm really sort of enjoying my game there. If it wasn't for its fragility, I would really be enjoying it better. Hearts of Iron 4 has so much potential, but just doesn't live up to it, shall we say. And since I know there's going to be no more work on, oh, we can continue to improve our government. Well, we want more heavy infantry equipment right now, so we'll do Mauser. Since they're not going to improve Hearts of Iron 3 anymore, I guess my hopes are that they'll continue to move in good directions for Hearts of Iron 4. Although it hasn't worked out great for me, but I have liked their direction that they're doing with like the spies and intelligent element for it. That I think is good. We need more rubber. Yeah, oh, we haven't been doing our little trade thingy with Dutch economy here. Gotta remember to do that. We have been dominating it. Yeah, absolutely, Nils. That type of thing, the various production, producing equipment and training units is a wondrous thing. That it really is.
Ihre Befehle?
Off Group A, very good. And yes, we might as well push forward on this.
Bereit. Ausrücken. Ausrücken.
Oh yeah, there's just so much that Hearts of Iron 4 has done right. And there's stuff that I don't like. So it's keeps me playing Hearts of Iron 3 as well and liking it a little better. And when you have to pick up a lot of the slack in the mods, well, I mean, you have to do that with 3 too, but 3 also. It just, but it's even more so, I feel, in this. Come on, let's kill this pocket here.
Bereit zum Ausrücken.
There we go.
Ausrücken. Bereit zum Ausrücken.
No, I'm not using battle plans. The AI is using battle plans. I'm
Zuhören.
also been sort of told that one of the things I really, even if I'm going to micromanage the invasion of France, I really need to do planning bonuses before going in Seoul. So I will see about that. But no, I'm not. Not that I hate battle plans. It's just I prefer micromanaging because that gives me the fun of what's going on here. Okay, Munich conference, yes. Man, I have a really nice thing worked out for that. Okay, 21 days for that. Siegfried line, I don't think we need that. I think the fort levels we have are enough. These seem to be last time. We want the dockyards, yeah, but they're just going to use steel up. 7 days. There we go. Let's hit that for 7 days. Let's throw on another one of these guys, or a couple of these guys. Yeah, 2 of those. Well, need more tungsten. Well, so is the mod overwhelming or not? Well, okay, we've lost Shact, so we can fill him because he doesn't like how we're behaving with Czechoslovakia. Really not doing that. Trade deal opinion. Oh, okay, well, they've changed this. Factory output plus 10%. Okay, so they've actually improved Spear up here a bit. Well, let's do that, I guess. For now. How many medium tanks do we have so far? Medium tanks, 51. Yeah, we could produce a bunch more medium tanks. Take out this, yay, okay. You guys come up to here. Well, we're going to end the episode, not the live stream, but the episode. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Of course, I love hearing your comments. Please let me know what you think of all this. See you next time for more, yes, more Hearts of Iron. Okay, we're going to continue. I just want to save. Okay. Well, coming back to, well, the last days of Spain and Hearts of Iron 4 with the Hearts of Iron 4 with the World Ablaze mod. This is Gamer 1745, and we're taking a look at possibly my replacement mod, possibly as my favorite mod for Hearts of Iron 4. Mostly because it doesn't do the wackiness that we're still seeing in Black Ice. But I was already asked, what's my verdict? I don't have a verdict yet, not until I actually really fight a proper battle out with France and see how the Soviet invasion goes. Not that I feel I need to crush Soviet Union in one season, but if it goes like the Black Ice and, oh yeah, you move 2 provinces in Lithuania, well, you're starving for supplies now, you can't go anywhere, can't do anything. Yeah, as long as it's not that BS or something. It very well may turn out to be the my sort of favorite mod here. Okay, August 38. We don't really need that Tiger 1P or whatnot research right now, but that would be good. So let's do that. And let's start a little bit of a building program down here. Let's build a radar/radio listening station there. Let's build one down in Tyrol so we can sort of look into northern Italy. And we'll build one here to sort of look out that way. We'll build some more when we conquer some other territories up there, but hopefully those will be pretty quick to build. What are you getting what's that thing that you said you would do for me? Oh, I think so, and I think it's up there, and I have the link, and someone else already has a copy of that. Hit me up just at the end of the live, after we're done with the live stream, on Discord or something, and I'll get you the link for it. if my cryptics statements sound correct for what I think we're talking about. I hope they do. But it was just done actually earlier this morning, late last night, whatever. Okay. Yeah, we'll do 3 factories of condors. Okay, now that you're here, attack. Since where are you attacking? There you go. Since attacking urban environments is the best thing to do with armored fighting units. Of course not, but yeah. Yeah, we'll do one more for now at least. Of synthetic. They're going to take a long time to build. But whatever. I think they'll be useful. Central planning, nice. Now, do we want to go shock and awe? Of course, the term wasn't coined until the second Gulf War, I guess is what you want to call it, taking out Saddam Hussein. Soft attack. I think we'll go this. It was a close choice. Oh yeah, no, we need to I think is what presume what you're talking about. You know what? You keep changing these symbols on me. Here, yes. No, I do know we need to go to that and then increase levels as time goes on. Absolutely. Partially, well, I wanted to get radios so that I can add radios to units. I wanted to get... We are in September. Well, I'm going to wait. Yeah, now's a good time to do this. There we go. Doing it now. Yep. No longer get the Yugoslavian aircraft. Okay. Whatever. Minor help, that. Get back over to here. Zeroing artillery. Yeah, let's right down there. Madrid itself is well fortified. Here, okay. I guess that's the option to take there. Before I click on that, let's see. Okay, well, we're doing good with a lot of that stuff. Okay, anti-air, that may be enough to start. Artillery, heavy artillery, infantry equipment, heavy infantry equipment. We might be able to convert a few units over to heavy. Or regular infantry battalions. Dual fighters, patrol aircraft, tactical bombers. Okay, yeah, let's look over here at our infantry division. Let's see if we can just convert that to regular for the whole army. Okay, we only have 5,000 we need, and some, and we need 6,000 and some. So, yeah, let's do that. And that then tells me I'm going to dump in a whole another 5, where here? There we go.
Weiter, weiter!
Oh, we need to hit this up again. I keep forgetting to do that. I think we can still maybe catch up to British. Okay, combined arms. Nice, they'll give me some research bonuses. Aggressive artillery. Yeah, well, don't know how much we still need to do on that, but okay. First Vienna Award. Fate of Czechoslovakia. Alliance with Italy. No, I don't necessarily like that I gotta go through this to get to flat towers. If I wanted flat towers. I don't see why the Siegfried line and flat towers are a prerequisite. Well, let's see, that would aeronautics funding, that would reduce, okay, we're going to do this. I want to get aircraft cheaper to build. No, it won't be yet, but how many days, 12 days, and we can dump another one in there.
Zuhören!
Well, yeah, I get that, but that really isn't much of a thing, because I have sort of looked at development. Now, part of the West Wall building program, but is not here. I'm going to check and make sure I'm not incorrect. Okay, just land forts here. And land and more land forts here. Okay. Siegfried line. I think that's what the Allies called it. The Germans, I've always seen it West Wall. There's a whole Luftflank zone, or whatever you want to say it, behind the West Wall in this sort of area that was developed along with the West Wall. Now, it is not a lot of heavy concrete bunkers. A lot of the plans that I've seen and the few photos, they are, Flak 88s dug into pits that have like log, hand cut sort of log walls, to keep the earth stabilized and have somewhat underground, I mean, not like deep underground, but just sort of protected by the earth. Ammo storage in, sort of little side bunkers, if you will, or whatever. So I'm not saying that there isn't concrete poured on some of them, but a lot of it is just sort of used non-concrete products, but it's a lot of flat guns in this sort of area. I have this covered in Third Reich events, that's why I sort of know about it. So there's that as part of the sort of West Wall developments, mostly up in this area here. And yes, as time goes on, they strengthen the West Wall and expand it up along the Belgian border up to basically to there, just the west side of the Rhine. And so yeah, they're expanding all of that. Now, they're doing that before, well, the early parts are doing it before coming into Czechoslovakia and getting to Sudetenland. Once they get to Sudetenland, they examine the fortifications, and their intelligence, I know, tells them that the fortifications that the Czechs build here are based on the Maginot fortifications, and even some of the designers or whatever, the Maginot line, come over to Czechoslovakia to help them build their fortifications, help them design them, kind of thing, not physically get out there and, shovel earth or anything, but get them designed. So they do a lot of testing, firing at some of the bunkers with different, artillery pieces, flak 88s, whatever, and examining them, and how much damage they can take, examining them on fields of fire. So they've sort of learned a lot by digging into the Czech forts before the war starts in the west. And so that's sort of giving them all the concrete that they need, concrete building knowledge. And so just expanding isn't elaborating, isn't making it bigger or more. And so the flak towers are sort of their own thing, and I don't know whether they're wasteful. I sort of think they are. I don't know in game terms. But so I could see level 1, organization tote getting used to doing all of the production kind of thing. But level 2, if you're just like, oh, we don't want to be bombed, is different than we need more than level 3 defenses kind of thing. So, just, I don't know. Two different things. Because see, if I think I'm going to crush France, and it's more than just expanding the lineup to Belgium and the Netherlands, which Germany did.
Weiter, weiter!
Did we take these guys, or what's going on here? Where are we still fighting? Looks like we took the territory, or I guess not. Not yet. And because I believe in choices, I really think, if you want a sort of locked down game, if you will, of history, get something like Gary Grigsby's War in the East or War in the West, and it's looking at a particular front, and so you get sort of what's given available to the German commander in the front. But when you're looking at this high of level, the top level grand strategy game, you sort of kind of go, hey, well, they made the mistake doing X, so I don't want to do X. Now, maybe some things are interrelated for sure, but the idea, and again, let's look at flak towers, decisions to build in Hamburg, Frankfurt, Berlin, Vienna. Yeah, see, the idea that you're wanting to protect Berlin and Vienna from bombardment doesn't necessarily mean that you want to have a super strong border fortifications. I don't see how they are, dependent upon the other. Bases on 2 fronts, very nice. And let's come over here, and then we want to get aeronautic funding to get national spirit, which will help us produce more fighters at less cost. Germany was anyway ahead with, oh yeah, no, they were some of the better concrete developers. Oh yeah. The experience in fortifying the border made it easier for them to fortify Vienna and Berlin effectively. Yeah, well, hello, Jackal Park. I don't know. Jackal will just tell you. Um, well, that was sort of the thought on YouTube Nils was having. Just if you don't know, I'm watching both the chat from Twitch and or YouTube. Watch it wherever you wish to. Um, the flak towers are sort of an independent. Each are independent. They're not linked together like the bunker system sort of was. Nothing terribly elaborate. Um, there's a lot of concrete element because they're really tall up in the sky. One of them still is mostly in existence, and there's another one that's sort of kind of buried, I think, in Berlin. Yeah, I'm just not buying that. Level one I could see. Basic level of the fortifications, but level two I'm just not buying that. Build factories and assembly at building locations. Yeah, organization tote gets pretty good at a lot of that stuff. Can we get that done? Oh, observation from Spain. What we'll do next? Yes, we get our volunteers back. Very nice. We'll give
Ausrücken!
them the new Panzer Division there. Ah, good, Jackal. That was the whole idea. Because I am very much, quite honestly, comparing this to Black Ice, World of Blaze. So if you're a Black Ice player, you should know about this. I'm not saying you should play this instead of Black Ice yet, but we're still looking into that. What would be better if the fortification focus gave you initial level 1 fort in those areas and then gave National Spirit that ticked down, and then it would give the next level after a certain period of time it would take to play. Okay, Tingle, I think I'm calling you Isolde Tingle, I'm sure I'm butchering that. I do it sort of differently. When the mod that's unreleased for Hearts of Iron 4 or my Hearts of Iron 3 mod, which is released for Black Ice, you start the program in Hearts of Iron 4. It is started with a, where is it? A national focus, build West Wall. And it starts an event chain that takes years to complete. And it has costs involved, but it gives you the forts. So it isn't like, hey, click this, get free forts after, however many days. So it is integrated to the national focus, but it's an event chain, and you do have decisions to make how much you want to expand it, both in how strong it is in a particular area, and then do you want to expand it up along the the borders with Luxembourg, Belgium, the Netherlands. Do you want to expand it? Do you want to build the Luftflak zone in the rear area here? And there are, again, they're not like flak towers as part of that. It's just sort of entrenched, mostly flak 88 guns and entrenchments and set up around there. So do you want to build those? And so it's a whole progression that takes multiple years to have it happen. It's how I do it, or how I've done it. Okay, you're familiar with, yeah, okay, Hoi 3 Black Ice, yes. Now I'm comparing this to Hoi 4 Black Ice, which I have some serious problems with right now. I really like a lot of what they've done with it, but I'm having serious problems. So I'm looking at this as a
Zuhören.
Hoi 4 Black Ice killer.
Bereit. Bereit zum Ausrücken. Ausrücken.
We'll threaten the check some more.
Ausrücken. Ihre Befehle?
They need good threatening.
Ihre Befehle. Zuhören. Zuhören.
Hoi 3 Black Ice is still my favorite. But there's serious problems. I mean, anybody who's played Hoi 3 Black Ice or whatever should know there's still serious problems that will never be fixed. Because unless someone buys Hoi 3, that's one if you want to win the lottery, and then buy Hoi 3 from Paradox, including the ability to get in there and alter the code and all that stuff and have it built right. Yeah, unless someone's going to do that, it's never going to be fixed. They're not going to do it, that's for sure. I guess we'll do that. So our only hope of one day a better game is Hoi 4. Notice I said hope. It's not a guarantee. It's not that I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be, just give them time. That's what I thought originally. Because I knew more than most people on some of the stuff, but proved Enigma nice, but I'm not going to do that now. I don't know that I want to do that now. Oh, observation from Spain, that's what I was going to do. Just 7 days, but it's a little research bonus. I'm sure if you give them enough money, they would, let you hire a team to get in and fix Hoi 3. The observations from Spain. We observe Spain. Things happened. Okay, tank drop, top rim. 35 days, 35 days. Okay, yeah, I think it's time for the first Vienna Awards. That's their current direction, unfortunately. I don't know. Doing one thing doesn't exclude doing another, but I'm heartened by the research or the spy improvements, which I'm not bothering with right now. Not that they're perfect by any means, but that they've done sort of some good work here there. Okay, we will wait a little bit, I think, and start digging into all these 39 stuff here in a few days. Don't think you got Paradox entirely figured out just because of some stuff. It's not that you're wrong. Don't want to say that, but it's like a pendulum. This is how I see it. And personalities are involved. I don't know if you know this, but Paradox is opening up a development studio. I understand, unless I've just sort of seen tweets about it, so I don't know any concrete stuff. But they're opening a Paradox a studio in Spain, and my understanding, and again, I could be entirely wrong about this. Hey, OCB, I'm doing good. How are you doing today? In Spain, and that's, I think, mainly because Johan wants to move to Spain. Now, maybe that's just all misinformation, just trolling or something like that. But they might be opening stuff up in Spain because I think some of the devs are tired of living in Sweden for whatever reason. Maybe just the cold winters. But, and are thinking of moving to Spain. So I don't know what that means for the future. And so I think some of what they're doing is based upon what certain trusted devs want to do. Johan, who led the development of Hearts of Iron 4, and we know all how fucked up that was. Now, Podcat takes over after its release. And he worked very heavily on it during its production. He was the actual sort of lead person doing it, but Johan oversaw it. Then, after Hearts of Iron 4 is released, Johan moves over and really sort of leads the Imperator Rome game development, and we know how bad that was. And so, Imperator Rome, and now they've just released the Meander, Meander, or however you say it, mostly free. There's also, you can get the pre-release stuff for a little bit of money, I guess, or something. The Meander stuff. So now it's finally getting good, I think. I just sort of scratched the surface of the new release version. So that was, I think they recognized that, they knew when they released Hearts of Iron 4, it was not ready to go. It's just, I think the bean counters at the company, again, they're sort of two corporate entities. There's Paradox Development Studio. These are the guys that make the games. There's Paradox Interactive. That's the company that oversees it. Now, Paradox Interactive also released games made by other developers, that don't work for Paradox. I think the bean counters and again, take this as I think, because I don't have any direct inside knowledge. I think it was the people at Paradox Interactive forced out, for one reason or another. I don't want to speculate too much on the reasons, because it's just speculation, so I don't want to start any sort of incorrect rumors. But the major stated release reason is they announced the release, or they announced the game too early, and it had been announced and it had gone on so long, we just got to release it. To me, that's half bullshit. I think there's some truth there, but I think there's more to it than that. But again, it would just be pure wild-ass speculation, so I'm not going to do it as to why. But they released Hearts of Iron 4 before it is ready. And Hearts of Iron 4 has stated, made them state now, Paradox will not officially announce a game existing until it is truly in the beta stage. Until they think it's in the beta stage. Which means basically it's feature complete. They're just, tweaking, fixing bugs, working on the features, tweaking them and whatnot, but it's feature complete. And so they learned that, and then they released Imperator Rome, which is basically one game they can't go, oh, you've stripped out all the stuff to then sell it all back in DLCs. That was what they claimed on 4, which is from my actual knowledge, not what happened. It's just they started from scratch. They got from point, A to point C, which had this number of features, and then they released the game, and it was going to continue to develop. They didn't have a game and then remove things to then sell it later. They just hadn't built the things like the spy network yet. So, and because it takes money, meaning time for people to sit in desks building the game, that costs money. They need to have money incoming to continue to develop the project. Money's a key statement there for some of my previous stuff, but that's just a guess. So they needed to do this. Well, Imperator Rome was seen as a sort of new fresh game, but it was such bland. I mean, it was at release, the AI worked, unlike Hearts of Iron 4, in my opinion. And it had a really good skeleton that was doing really well, but it was just bland. It just had no flavor to it. Now they've added a lot of flavor in. It's gotten a lot better. The previous, whatever it was called, release just before this last one, is what I sort of kind of think it should have been at release. So it was sort of bland, and they realized the problems with that. And everybody, now I don't know for Vicky 3 and the other one, Crusader Kings 3, whether they were in beta when they announced them or not, but everybody knew that they were in development. They just didn't admit it because of things and reasons, but everyone knew that they were in development. So, again, from my understanding for Paradox Development Studio is they need to have a reasonably talented team to work on something new, like Victoria 3. And Victoria 3, to the best of my knowledge, is a completely new game with an old, name and an old sort of theme, but they're going in and building it from scratch. It's not just tweaking the old stuff. I'll look at OCB here in a minute. So the development there is, that way. Now, trying to port like this game to phone/tablet version, well, that's just a programming challenge that may be very significant, but it's not like trying to develop a new game. So it's a different sort of set of talents. And so if you already have a game that you think is popular, like Hearts of Iron 4, and you go, hey, it's sort of simplistic, we could have it put a mobile version of it. And if we can get it built, yeah, I don't blame them for trying that. And that can make you think that they're just going for the Chinese mobile market or something like that. And whether that works out for you or not, technologically or financially, I don't know. But that doesn't mean that they are not going to try to do some more serious games. It's just what the production team are and what's for job opening Barcelona. Okay, yeah. Studios, their latest edition Paradox. Thank you, OCB. And I think also Frank is going to move down there as well, because he sort of stepped away from being, the CEO, though he's still involved in the company, and still sort of, my understanding, he wanted to get back to doing creative new ideas instead of just running a business. And he still has his ownership stake, to the best of my knowledge. Frank Westernheimer, I forget how you, the former CEO. I think he just got tired of running the business. He still owns, to the best of my knowledge, all of whatever stock he ever owned in it. He just is no longer the CEO, and now went to sort of like special projects manager or something. Again, I probably have some of that wrong in detail, but doing that stuff. And I think he's also moving to Barcelona as well, along with Johan, which I gather I know they've known each other for a long time. I gather they're friends. I mean, I don't know them that well. I sort of interacted with them a little bit, just a little bit. I want to stress that. Yeah, art lead, producer, programmer, content designer are the four jobs. Great. So yeah, I don't know what they're producing down there, but I'm guessing it's the Johan development. I'm guessing Johan has passed off Imperator Rome to whoever he's done. I'm just not following it closely. They may have announced all this. I just don't follow it that much. And so, yeah, that's sort of what will be the custodian developer. Oh, okay. So they're gonna continue EU4 brand down there. Okay, I didn't even read that far in your previous paragraph. Yes. And EU4. Do you need an EU5? You know, other than simply selling you another game, is there at this time a reason for an EU5? I don't know. I've played EU4 some, but I don't know. Yeah, I used to play the hell out of EU and then EU2 way back in the day, and I love it. I don't play it for the channel because nobody watches the videos if I put them up there. Yes, IKB, I get you there. Okay, we have possibilities of inviting a faction in. I guess we will invite faction. They will accept. Yay. We now have Italy. Alliance with Italy was bypassed. Don't know if that's a good thing or not. Let's see now that we've done it. That is somewhere. Alliance with Italy. Okay, so yeah. Good there. Fate of Czechoslovakia coming very soon because we need to select a national focus. So I guess we'll fade out Czechoslovakia. Let's look over here. Let's hit this again. Push ahead on that. And we are in January, so now we can do some research without penalties. We're going to come over here. Yeah, construction speed, we can push ahead on that one. And factory output, we'll do that as well. Yeah, not today, because I don't think I'm going to play much longer, but war is coming. We don't want to dash everybody's hopes. We did have the obviously minor sort of fracas down in Spain to watch. A couple of panzer divisions driving around. And then my brilliant use of cutting off of Madrid. I think a lot of people like it. It's just that this game, people play it faster than sort of playing it meticulous, that at least the way I play with all the rich environment of Hearts of Iron 3. Do well, I don't know if it's a good question to ask, because do you like the slower pace, slower clock? I mean, you can slow the clock speed down, obviously, but more to sort of do for Hearts of Iron 3? Now, some of it is just literally the sort of, tweaking all the little, production slider bullshit that just drives me up the wall. I so much wish they had a setting that, like a, set, how much to build, the different, some of the stuff, just put it on auto. And it'll just do minimum required, reinforcement replacement production. Okay, yeah, whatever is required, just put it there and leave it there. Now I could manually decide to go down if I want to focus on something else, building, an air force, and just who cares about the, upgrade of infantry divisions, or vice versa, or something like that. If I wanted to focus on a particular thing, yeah, but otherwise I wish some of that micromanage would go away. And this again gets back to the earlier topic of paradox and the pendulum. I was sort of going there. Is people complained a lot about real problems with Hearts of Iron 3. So the pendulum swings radically the other direction for Hearts of Iron 4. is to sort of run away from things like supply. Run away, supply's awful, supply's awful, supply's awful. So instead of having supply and trying to fix it, they just, oh, we don't need supply, let's get the fuck away from it. So there's that pendulum thing that they do sometimes. And so that's some of their problems. I know 43 players are in a minority, so I'll never vote for you. Quick, something like draws. Yeah, well, I like both games. Maybe build a few dockyards. I could build dockyards. I'm just, with this playthrough, I'm not really planning a naval campaign too much, just because it's going to be sort of, the naval's going to be Mediterranean, taking the Mediterranean, and going to be Russia and France. This is just more of a test playthrough. If I really wanted more dockyards, I would be doing naval rearmament, naval effort, and expand dockyard facilities. I just sort of ignored those. Sol XP. Just because it's not going to be a major focus of this. At least that's not my plan. Army theorist. Von Manstein. Tank experience. Guderian. We'll do... Yeah, okay, air. Maybe I should have done Guderian. I don't know. I like Guderian as a theorist as well. Okay, another big batch. I always seem to be chasing things like heavy infantry equipment or artillery or something with this mod. Again, I'm not necessarily saying building dockyards is a bad idea just on this playthrough. It's just not going to be a big focus of things. U.S. embargoes our country. This is something that I have a serious problem with. The U.S. did not embargo Germany at this time in January 39. There's no reason. They were having some disputes with Germany over the United States has imposed a complete embargo on us following our recent political actions. Yeah, this is bullshit. This is effing bullshit. They're, to the best of my knowledge, unless you give me an actual reference of either overtaking, because all we've done is, so far, I don't know what's caused this thing. Austria? Yeah, it was a German invasion, but hey, they voted very highly for it. Yeah, they did take Czech territory, but that was the German-speaking peoples that really overwhelmingly wanted to join the Reich. Yeah, at this time, they were still fighting in Spain, but that was sort of covert action. Yeah, this is complete bullshit. Yeah, it is. They only really start embargoing China later than this. I mean, embargoing Japan over China. But that's that. And then start doing it once the war breaks out. Because I'd have to look, but it's 38, 39. There's problems with Germany financially. There's some stuff going on. So I've looked into this for my mod. That for a while they called the U.S. ambassador, recalled the U.S. ambassador to Germany back to the U.S. But it's all over payments for loans that the U.S. gave to Germany to pay off the reparations after World War I, and the U.S. wanting to be paid back, and Germany was dragging its feet. That kind of thing. And so they sort of wanted the trade going. Yeah, no, this is just BS. BS entirely, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, yeah, I guess we're putting the and okay, now that we're doing this, we're going to put the squeeze on the puppet state and do that historically. And even that doesn't get the U.S. that upset because, hey, there's still, Slovakia and whatnot. We assert Eastern claims. Yes, we need to do that, but maybe not immediately. Okay, auxiliary auto bond, 42 days. This is a fatigue. I'll jump that up. Oh, what are we go down? What are we currently at 40? Yeah. Let's see if this goes down because of taking Czechoslovakia. No, I'm still at 40. Well, that's nice. Yeah, I'm getting more and more frustrated with this economic fatigue BS. I get their point to it, but I think it's just way overstating what was going on. Do we want to start producing a Panzer Force? Yeah, I guess we'll do that for the fun of it. Yeah. Nope, just playing through. We're not doing multiplayer right now. Silly cross spray. Silly cone spray. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. I'm sure I am. Don't mean to. Why do you produce nothing but coastal submarines, gamer? Well, because I really don't care about naval production right now. That's sort of the simple answer. And when I was producing them, it's the current best type that we have, because I've not done any research when it comes to naval things. So I have not researched any improved classes of submarines. So that's why. Oh, I don't know what toy jet's going on in my precious Navy. Oh, okay. So yeah, we're not worrying about the Navy much. Yeah, I get that, Tingle. I just think they're overdoing it. And as I said before, and they say they are building for post 45 events, I guess, or if you're going to play longer or whatever. I'm not exactly sure. I think they're just overdoing it. Oh, we should also do a central one, I think. Yeah, we'll put it here in Berlin. Central radar. Yeah, if you're gonna continue to play beyond mid 1940 without going to war, that makes sense. But if I was just looking at yeah, if you were to continue to pump out stuff beyond 1940 and not go to war, then you have more of a point, and that's where I would start to agree with them. This is why I say they're not, compared to some of the stuff that I'm just calling total BS on. They have a point. It just, I think, is overstated, overdone, as far as I can tell, with the economic situation. But that's just my reading of this of history so far. Auxiliary Autobahn, good, though it's hurt our economy, which I would sort of say it should help the economy, but then that's me. Yeah, we'll do this. Now, hey, thanks for following the channel, do appreciate it. And if you're over on YouTube, you can hit the subscribe button. Okay. Where is it here? Yeah, am I looking the right? No. Prepare Barbarossa, Danziger War. War planned west. Okay. Here's another thing that I really don't like here. I think it's here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Once you go to war with Poland, you get an event that delays your attack into the west. And I think that is rather bad. Because it says does not have national spirit, lack of offensive plans. That you don't have it now, but once you go to war with Poland through, Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact and Danziger War, you get that thing, and that takes like 3 months, 90 days to come off, or something like that, and it really, I think, is inappropriate because, yeah, I don't know if I should give a quick history lesson. Basically, it was sort of a like, oh shit, you've got a week to go get ready and go to war with Poland because we're just going to have our separate little war with Poland, and then, oh fuck, France and Britain, declare war on us. Well, I don't think that is, do you have to make Hitler's mistakes? Do you have to do that? Can you go like, oh, well, we got the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, and yeah, come this spring, Molotov, we're invading Poland, so be ready, and plan for a possible war with France and Britain, and have those things ready to go. They're forcing you to have the problem, and I don't like that. Because they didn't have, the plan set up. That's true, but that doesn't mean you can't. It's not an unreasonable thing to presume to develop some of those plans. So I just sort of look at that as being an artificial thing. And also, it's not just that they didn't have the plans, so it took them a long time to develop them. It was also freaking winter, and they didn't want to invade in winter. So even though they did come up with plans, and I don't know exactly, and they came up with the first set of plans and finalized it. Yes, this is what we're going to do. Oops. The airplane with the plans landed in another country. Maybe the Allies got a hold of those plans. We better do something different. So then they come up with the Manstein plan and change it. So it's sort of like, an oopsie moment that they do that. And so that delays it even more. But I, in no way, because there were negotiations going on for what to do in the West between Hitler and the generals, and between different factions of the generals and what to do. And part of it, because Hitler wants to go right away. Once Poland is done, they defeated Poland and they're at war here, Hitler wants to move fast and go. The army's like, oh shit, no, wait. It's winter. We can't go now. Oh, we don't have full. We're working on the plans, and they just sort of drag their feet because they're not ready. They're afraid of war, but also it's because it's winter, and so they really don't want to go. And even Hitler goes, yeah, it's winter. We don't quite do good invasions in the middle of winter. Then of course later on, hey, yeah, it's winter. Let's do an invasion. It's the Battle of the Bulge. So yeah, we'll do this, increase our production efficiency cap. Okay, medium tanks. We need more medium tanks. We're going to get a bunch more medium tanks. So yeah, I think it's artificially done. Because I like to invade Poland in spring. And 30, 60 days later, whatever it is, by the time you get your army over to the west, invade France in summer. And spring of 1940. Okay, Zog submits to Italy. So now Italy's expanded. And see, right now, if Mussolini were smart, I'm not saying he's dumb, but if he made the smart moves, and right now, go to no more wars, just sit there and be peaceable. Sit there and be peaceable. He's got a colony down here that he can more or less control, so he has local allies. He's crushed all Arab resistance in Libya. Well, actually, before him, it's crushed. The Italian Royal Army does it before Mussolini comes to power. And he's expanded into Albania, has a bunch of the coastline here. If he were just to stop and stay at peace, at some point, yeah, I think Italy would have lost the African colonies, but I think we would see all this as still as Italy today. And maybe even places like Rhodes and some of the other little islands out there. Okay, we can do some research more. Resource efficiency gain. I think that's maybe the best for the moment. Okay, I think we're going to end this episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe, follow, post comments below. See you next time for more, yes, more Hearts of Iron. Those of you who like to play War Thunder with me, I have an experiment that I want to try tomorrow. Ari's still around, don't know if he is. He was sort of helping me out with it yesterday. But we really thought maybe get a few of you in a custom battle and try out a very interesting War Thunder experiment. So if you want to join me Sunday for that and watch that, and later in the week, I will be streaming for Slytherin, more Panzer Corps 2, the new 1939 DLC for that. That's focusing on that, and that we're currently doing the SAR offensive. But I think I'm going to give my voice a bit of a break here and end the live stream. Been really, really fun hanging out with all of you guys. So yeah, so basically 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Daylight Time now. Pacific Daylight Time tomorrow, Sunday, I'll be starting War Thunder stream. And yes, we will can invite new people in as well as the old group. So see you guys then. So thanks so much, everyone. See you tomorrow, I hope.